Hello, crafty friends, and welcome back to my channel. Well, it's an exciting night. Simon Says Stamp just dropped their brand new Friend Like You release, and it's absolutely packed with amazing goodies. We've got stamps, coordinating and standalone dies, fun stencils, sentiment strips, background stamps, and so much more to play with. Today, I'll be using some of these fabulous new products to create a clean and simple Get Well Soon card. It's super easy to recreate and perfect for mass producing too. But before we jump into the project, I'd love it if you could take a quick moment to subscribe to my channel. It really means a lot. For today's card, I'll be using three different products from the brand new Friend Like You release. First up is a gorgeous floral die set that'll serve as the main focal point of our card. To add texture to the background, I'm bringing in a 3D embossing folder, and for my sentiment, I've picked a stamp from the newly released set as well. Let's start with the Tilted Daisies die. This die set includes everything you need to build two lovely daisy blooms. We have four layering pieces for the petals, two stems, and two flower centers. It's a versatile set that's perfect not only for a clean and simple get well soon card, but also for spring, summer, or any nature themed projects. For my background, I'll be using the Dainty Dotted Daisy 3D embossing folder. It features a beautiful repeating pattern of daisies and leaves, all formed with a delicate dotted impression that gives it a fresh and modern feel. Whether you use it on the embossed or the debossed side, it's sure to add stunning texture to your cards. And finally, for my sentiment, I'm stamping I Hope You're Feeling Better from the Wildflower Cuttings stamp set. This set includes beautifully illustrated branches and floral arrangements, along with a variety of heartfelt sentiments, perfect for creating elegant, nature inspired designs. I really enjoying mixing and matching my supplies to create something unique. The stamp set is incredibly versatile. You can use it across a variety of styles, not just for cards, but also for tags, shadow boxes, and lots more. The floral images work beautifully as repeating elements for backgrounds too, adding elegance and charm to any project. Let's go ahead and get started with today's card project. As I mentioned earlier, this design that I'm creating is super versatile. You can easily recreate or adapt it for a variety of occasions. Whether it's a thinking of you, thank you, birthday, or even a sympathy card, this layout works beautifully. I went with a soft, soothing color palette for my version today, but you could easily customize it using colored cardstocks or even create your own ink blended background for a more personalized look. To begin, I die cut the floral elements. I kept things simple by using white cardstock for the petals and specialty yellow and green cardstocks from your Paper and Cider collection for the flower centers and the stems. All of the die cut pieces were run through my Spellbinder's Platinum 6 machine, which delivers clean, crisp cuts every single time. Now, to assemble everything together, I'm using the new Positively Perfect Craft Glue. I actually used this in my previous project where I created 10 cards using the June 2025 card kit, and I'm honestly hooked to this. This high quality adhesive comes in handy a zero point 0.5 ounce bottle with an ultra precise tip, which makes applying just the right amount of glue incredibly easy. It also comes in a 2-ounce size if you prefer a larger bottle. This is perfect not just for adhering big card bases or card panels onto card bases, but also perfect for these tiny little intricate die cut pieces and even adhering small little embellishments and sequin mixes. Now, here's a little behind the scenes moment. It wasn't until after I adhered the flower to the stem that I realized that I actually attached it upside down. The yellow flower center was supposed to be positioned at the top, facing outward and away from the stem, but by the time I noticed it, everything was already firmly in place. I debated pulling it apart and starting over, but honestly, I decided to just roll with it. Sometimes these little imperfections add character to handmade projects, and I didn't want to recreate an entire focal point piece from scratch. Thankfully, I corrected it on the second flower and I made sure to attach the blossom with the flower center at the right position, facing away from the stem just as intended. So, a little lesson learned and gentle reminder that even with small mishaps, the card can still turn out beautifully. So those are the two floral pieces we assembled, but for today's project, I'll be using only one. I'm setting the second flower aside to use in a future project. Now that our focal point is ready, let's move on to creating our background. For this, I'm using the 3D embossing folder with a soft light gray cardstock panel. Now, usually when I'm using cardstocks with a 3D embossing folder, I like to use a 80-pound cardstock, which is typically what I prefer, especially when working with 3D embossing folder. It's lightweight, enough to emboss beautifully without too much resistance. Before running the panel through my machine, I like to mist it lightly with water. This helps soften the paper fibers, which in turn prevents any tearing or cracking as it goes through the embossing folder and the die cutting machine under pressure. It's a simple step that makes a big difference in getting a clean, crisp impression without damaging your cardstock. Just as I used my Spellbinders Platinum 6 for all the die cutting, I prefer using Sizzix Big Shot for my 3D embossing folders. It's purely a personal choice. I just find it works very well for these kind of textured designs. Now, once I ran this through the machine, here's a look at the finished panel. As I mentioned earlier, this embossing folder is absolutely stunning. Both the embossed and the debossed sides offer a beautiful finish, giving you the flexibility to choose the look that best suits your project. Either side would make a lovely, elegant background for your cards. This panel is an A2 size panel measuring 4 1 quarter by 5.5 inches. However, if you followed my work for a while, you'll know I love leaving a small border around the card fronts. So I'll be trimming this panel down to slightly to 4 by 5 1 quarter inches to create that clean, subtle quarter-inch border. Before attaching the floral die cut focal point, I'll go ahead and adhere the trimmed panel onto a standard A2 size top folding white card base using the same positively perfect craft glue. As I mentioned earlier, this glue works wonderfully not just for adhering large panels like this one onto card bases, but also for more intricate tasks like assembling and securing smaller die cut elements. Once the background panel was in place, I added the floral die cut to the left side of the card front, creating a soft yet elegant focal point. You could absolutely cut more of those floral elements and create a fuller cluster on the card front. But for this design, I really wanted the background also to shine along with the focal point. That's why I chose to keep it simple and elegant by adding just a single flower. After adhering both the background panel and the floral die cut, I place something heavy over the card to ensure everything sticks well, especially over that textured surface. I'll set this panel aside to dry completely while we move on to preparing our sentiment. For the sentiment, I chose the I Hope You're Feeling Better stamp from the Wildflower Cuttings set. I stamped it onto a strip of black cardstock. While Simon's stamp does offer coordinating dies for this set, which cut out not only the floral images but also the sentiments, I don't have those dies on hand, so I went with the classic sentiment strip instead. I positioned the black cardstock strip onto my Altenew stamp wheel and inked it up using the Simon's stamp white pigment ink. Now, whenever I'm heat embossing with white powder on black cardstock, I prefer using white pigment ink rather than the usual Versamark ink to stamp my image. In my experience, it gives a much more crisp and more defined result. I stamped the sentiment twice using white pigment ink to build up a nice opaque layer. One of the great features of the stamp wheel is the ultra sticky mat on the base, which holds my sentiment strip firmly in place, ensuring perfect alignment every time I stamp. Next, I sprinkled on white embossing powder and set it with my heat gun. When heat embossing on thin sentiment strips like these, I like to place the strip on my Positively Everything tool, which is heat resistant and helps prevent the paper from warping as much as if I would have held it in air. I also make sure to move the heat gun steadily over the paper so that the embossing powder melts evenly without causing any warping of the paper and giving it a more clean and polished look. You might notice the paper looks a little white with stray particles of the anti-static powder left on the strip, even though I applied it before the stamping of my sentiment. Well, I'll let this strip cool down for a moment before gently wiping away all those stray bits. Once that's done, I trim the trim the sentiment strip down to a size that fits perfectly just below my floral focal point. I used foam tape to raise my sentiment strip off the card front, giving it a nice dimension. I love how it fits perfectly nestled between the stem and the leaves, creating a balanced and harmonious look. To enhance the overall design, I align the sentiment strip flush with the edge of the cardstock panel, which helps tie everything together for a cleaner and more cohesive appearance. Once the sentiment strip was in place, it was time to add some finishing touches to the card front. I chose to use some black metallic positively saturated gems, scattering them thoughtfully around the sentiment area. I prefer to work with an odd number of embellishments because I find it adds more visual interest and a natural flow to the design as opposed to even numbers, which can sometimes feel too symmetrical or predictable. Of course, that's just my personal preference, but it really helps bring the whole card to life. Using the little glue bottle, I carefully adhered each of those gems in place. I have to say, I'm reaching out for this glue on nearly all of my recent projects, and I'm genuinely impressed with its quality. Even though this bottle looks small, it definitely goes a long way. Here's a look at the finished card. I absolutely love how simple and elegant it turned out. We combined several products from the Friend Like You release to create this beautiful design. I'm really excited to make more cards like this, maybe experimenting with different colors and even for different occasions. And as far as that daisy facing upside down, honestly, it doesn't look like a mistake at all. What do you think? Well, I hope you had fun watching today's video as much as I did creating this card for you guys. All the supplies that I used to create this card will be listed in the description box below. Please note that all of the links there are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.